After a long year marked by massive twists, constantly changing luck, and some of the tightest competition US Rally has ever seen, the 2022 American Rally Association presented by DirtFish National Championship has come to a close at the Lake Superior Performance Rally. While there was plenty of excitement in the air for the event, the weekend unfortunately started on a somber note with the news of unexpected passing of Al Dantes Jr. Dantes has been preparing to compete in his hometown rally at LSPR when he was killed in a horrific accident when a drunk semi-truck driver crashed into the gas station where he was fueling his pickup truck. Al Dantes has been a massive rally supporter and a key player in the grassroots rally scene, often going far out of his way to support other competitors, big and small. His LS-powered RX-7 was far away one of the most well-known and well-loved cars by the fans of the sport, and always made its presence known with its loud roar as it flew sideways through spectator corners.
Yes! Come on out!
Al is one of the reasons that we kept at this sport. He kept checking on us. He made us feel like we were a part of the rally family as soon as we arrived, and that's why we're still here. And I have more rally family than I could ever believe because of him. So
there's a hole that's never going to be filled, and I lost my RX-7 battle partner. I mean, we always go back and forth, so it's hard. A win today wouldn't feel great. I could say that, but we're gonna miss him.
So I was just having some conversations with some of the friends of Al and everybody who knew him, and us media guys especially love Al because as soon as he sees us, anytime we're on the stage, he went from a nice, conservative angle to completely sideways and throwing gravel everywhere.
Dantes, a father of 6, cultivated an incredible community of people around him and gave countless US rallyists their start into the sport. Despite being a regional competitor, he was known by all across the field, and his loss was mourned by all.
Al was an amazing person. I only knew him a little through rally, but he was always with a smile. He was a fantastic person. He'll be dearly missed. I think everybody's super heartbroken. We're all heartbroken for him.
Al was that pure rally enthusiast. He loved the sport. He loved everybody in the sport. There's not one person in the pits that didn't know Al, and I just, being a father of 2 daughters and knowing, he's got a plethora of little girls, and I just, I don't even know what to say right now, but I just, I know the rally community will be there for his family as much as I know he would be there for all of us. So it's just such a wake up this morning. That news was horrific.
A moment of silence was held in honor of Dantes at the Park Exposé Friday morning at Fox Subaru Marquette, as the community gathered round Rexine, writing notes of support, love and encouragement before sending off Rexine as the first car in the ceremonial start. The community paid tribute by carrying on Dantes' tradition of taking a selfie with his fellow competitors at the start of the final stage of the rally, and by adorning their cars with stickers and decals in his honour. The ARA added Al's number, 50, as the 3rd number in series history to be retired, and organisers rerouted the transit route in order to avoid passing the site of Dantes' accident. The entire DirtFish community sends its deepest condolences to Al's family and friends, and share in the mourning of his loss. Al's press-on-regardless spirit will be carried on by the community for decades to come. Now before we get into LSPR, let's take a look back at the 2022 American Rally Association presented by DirtFish National Championship. Round 1 was the Snowdrift Rally, one of those unique events in North America. Don't forget, there's snow and ice but no studs on these tyres. Sensationally, Mark Piatowski and his rather modest Subaru took the win after the Subaru Works driver, Brandon Semenuk, suffered a mechanical issue on the penultimate stage of the rally. Round 2 was the rally in the 100-acre wood. Semenuk would be avenged on this, the very next round when he inherited the 100-acre wood win from Ken Block. Block, don't forget, debuting the 2C competition high-and-die World Rally car in the US. He dominated until he hit a deer on the final stage, and the resulting damage forced him to drop his pace and fall into second place behind our winner, Semenuk. That moves us on to round 3, and that was the Olympus Rally. Things went from bad to worse for Block on this one, with a terrifying head-on crash with a tree resulting in a huge 12G impact, and clearly no points from round 3. Instead, it was left for Semenuk to win, once again leading home his Subaru teammate, Travis Pastrana. Round 4 was one of the classics on the ARA presented by DirtFish Championship. It's the Oregon Trail Rally. For Block, he had it all to do, needing a win if he was serious about challenging for this year's championship, and that's exactly what he delivered in a controlled and commanding style, beating the Subarus of Semenuk and Pastrana by just shy of a minute. Round 5 was the Southern Ohio Forest Rally, where Ken Block made it back-to-back wins in the ARA presented by DirtFish Championship. But perhaps the highlight of the event was Will Hudson, claiming an outright podium on his Rally 2 debut. Next, we headed east to Maine for round 6, where Subaru man Brandon Semenuk scored his 3rd win of the season, beating a clearly frustrated hooligan star Ken Block by less than a second in the New England forests. Round 7? Well, that was a damp Ojibwe Forest Rally. And damp, that's a word in particular that Mark Williams will remember for quite some time. The battle at the front between Pastrana and Block once again was, as usual, intense until an unfortunate mistake by Travis put them out of the rally and allowed Block to cruise to victory. Brandon Semenuk, while he was dealing with issues of his own, managed to secure 2nd, and Texas Dave had a great run to 3rd, claiming the final podium position. The penultimate rally of the ARA presented by DirtFish Championship had us head to the forests of Pennsylvania for the STPR. A tricky rally, where Subaru's Travis Pastrana has had more crashes than finishes. However, it would be his title-challenging teammate Semenuk who got caught out this year, exiting the rally on only the 2nd stage. With Pastrana struggling to find the pace to mount a challenge, Ken Block took the win by over a minute. And on top of that, maximum power stage points. Tom Williams went on to take a fine 3rd place. So what does this mean for our national championship standings? In 1st place we have Ken Block, in 2nd Brandon Semenuk, with Travis Pastrana following closely in 3rd. Tom Williams in the 4th spot, with Mark Piatowski in 5th. Patrick Grushka is running in 6th, with Seamus Burke in 7th, followed by Carl Tilley, Michael Hooper, and Dave Carpathian rounding out the top 10. The Lake Superior Performance Rally is the spiritual successor to the infamous, historic, Press On Regardless Rally of the 1970s. Beginning as a time-speed distance rally in 1949, before transforming into a stage rally sanctioned by the FIA in the 70s, and even hopping into the WRC calendar in 1973 and 1974. Today, LSPR is the traditional end to the US rally season, and many of those same hardcore, unforgiving roads are still contested, as drivers battle tooth and nail for the last points of the season. For a bit of history, in 1972, the Jeep Wagoneer of Gene Henderson became the first 4-wheel drive vehicle to win in an FIA-sanctioned rally. Not long before 4x4s were outlawed from competition. With that in mind, it should come as no surprise that the roads are certainly not easygoing. Rhiannon Gelsomino told DirtFish about the stages and the types of conditions that competitors should face on LSPR.
Today's stages are pretty fast, to be honest. Tomorrow's stages, there's a couple of new stages that are a little bit more technical and narrower. So today's going to be pretty flat out. Stage 4 has 2 virtual chicanes in it, so that shows how fast it is. So wet, slippy, but also extremely fast out there. So the trees aren't as close to the road as some rallies today, so that's nice. There's lots of leaf coverage and rocks under those leaves, so it's going to be important that people be careful that they're not cutting too much, because we know there is rocks around that can easily cause a puncture.
This year, most of the eyes would be on the 2-point gap separating points leader Ken Block from 2nd place Brandon Semenuk, as the two came into the weekend ready to go 11 tenths right from the start. Both chasing their maiden championship, fans were eager to cheer on their favourites, as they knew the outcome would be a historic one no matter which way it swings. Looking to play spoiler and get his first win of the year, Travis Pastrana had high hopes of finishing the season on a high note after what had been an admittedly difficult year for him and Rhiannon.
It's going to be absolutely awesome. It really tests you as a driver. You might have a dry stage or a stage that's got good gravel, and then the next stage is going to be all mud with kind of a clay base, and then there's sandy base, and even at the end we got pavement, and it's probably going to be raining, snowing, frozen. It's going to be great. We got to put the pressure on Ken. Like, that's basically my job for Subaru. My job for me and Rhi is to win a freaking race, because we haven't done that all year. And my job for Subaru is to put as much pressure on Ken as possible to keep him pushing. There's very, very treacherous stages. The power stage is very rocky. If we can put some pressure on at least make Ken want to get out there and push. Any kind of flat tire, any kind of anything in this rally is, it changed hands quickly.
While Block and Semenuk's teams were busy doing last-minute prep on Friday before the rally, we were able to get a hold of Alex Gelsomino to get an insight into how the Hoonigan team was feeling about their odds.
Look, the preparation that we've been doing has been the same consistent for the last 5 events, which is where it has worked. We come from a really good stint, and we're hoping that keeping a consistent preparation going into this event is going to pay off. We just need to do what we've been doing the last 5 rallies, as simple as that. Being the championship finale and the decider for the championship, the things that are worrying us a little bit are sort of like the freak accidents, the deer on the stage, dust won't be an issue this weekend, Obviously we have nearly 4 night stages, so visibility could be an issue if it starts snowing with the light pods. So all those little things are what we are thinking of. We are used to the conditions. We've done this rally many times, 1 or 3 times, I believe. So we are familiar with the grip, the stages and everything, but hopefully we can stay away from trouble, rocks, deer and things like that.
The other LN4 championship has never looked as exciting as it did coming into LSPR, with 4 teams still eligible. Chris Ladek and the Hart Rally Team Honda Passport led the pack with 73 points to Texas Dave Carpathian's 69. Mark Piatowski found himself in a good position with 67 points in 3rd place, and Dylan Murcott was the long shot 17 points off Sladek after a hard-fought year keeping the car together. The naturally aspirated 4-wheel drive and limited 2-wheel drive cups were also undecided coming into LSPR. Mark Piatowski just having to finish to take the LA4 Cup, while a 3-way battle for first raged in the L2 Cup between Paul Dickinson, who led, Alex Ramos in 2nd, and reigning champion Roberto Iglesias in 3rd, each driver having just 1 point less than the competitor in front of them. Marquette, Michigan and the surrounding areas provide incredible scenery, incredible roads, and most importantly, completely unpredictable weather, and this year was no exception. As cars prepared to leave the Sidnall Service Park for the first loop of stages, it started snowing, adding another element to limited visibility and grip on top of the already slick stages that would be run into the night. DirtFish was on the scene at the start of Stage 3 when it became clear the conditions were taking their toll. Competitors arriving on the scene said that Texas Dave and Patrick Grushka both hadn't made it through the 2nd stage. As it turns out, David got unlucky on an extremely slick section of road going into a right corner and slid wide into the trees before catching fire.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Oh.
Thankfully, Carpathian and co-driver KJ Miller were both okay and were able to hop out and put out the fire before it spread. Despite his hopes of a national championship being over, Carpathian remained in high spirits.
It's KJ's fault.
Yeah, my bad.
It's always the co-driver's fault, right?
I should have changed the weather. It's like...
Honestly, I think I'm most gutted about this because our notes were super good. I was really stoked about them. KJ was 100% on it from the start of Stage 1. We had all of the slippies marked. Where the logging trucks come in and hit the brakes on these roads, there's little divots. When it's been raining, they're real easy to see. So we were really fortunate, honestly, in Recce to be able to catch all of those slippy spots. We marked most of them, but it only takes missing one to slide off into the trees in a giant fiery ball.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, not fun.
0 out of 10. Don't recommend.
I would not do again.
As for Patrick Grushka, his Mitsubishi Mirage ended up hitting a massive rock that took the team out and broke a bone in Grushka's hands as it caught in the steering wheel. After the first loop, it was Ken Block who led the rally over Brandon Semenuk by just 10.5 seconds. Block won the first 2 stages as well as the 4th, with Semenuk taking the win on Stage 3.
Like typical LSPR, it's gotten really difficult, so the grip is ever changing. It's ever surprising. I've gone off the edge of the road once just because I broke too late in a slippery area and had to keep the car on the road by going really sideways. But, we're 10 seconds up on Brandon, so things are going well, but it's just, there's a certain amount of risk in driving the speed in these sketchy conditions. And now it's snowing more, and we're going into night stages, so that's going to get real interesting.
Took a minute to get into a rhythm there. It's the first time here for me, so coming to terms with the surface and obviously the tricky conditions we got. First stage was quite grippy. Second stage was a lot less grippy, so it just took a little while to kind of get a good feeling for the car in both situations. But the last 2 stages felt pretty good for us. We'll hopefully find a bit more pace, but I feel like we're having a pretty clean run so far.
Travis Pastrana was in third, about 30 seconds back, but showed good pace, being within a few seconds of the leaders on some stages. Alan Dubasu and Tom Williams both faced their share of troubles, but traded times back and forth, with Dubasu getting the best of Williams by only 2 seconds into 4th place. Greg Bugaj and Jeff Seahorn showed that they were here to play spoiler in the LN4 championship battle. Seahorn, the 2018 limited class champion, was ready to prove he still had it on a national level, especially after a win at the regional Tour de Forest rally just a few weeks prior, but fell a little short in the conditions as Bugaj had opened up a healthy gap of 30 seconds. Piatowski sat third in class, with Witteridge behind him, climbing up the field. However, the championship leader, Chris Ladek, taking advantage of the massive mud tyres on the passport to power through the deep areas.
We have a lot of practice in slick conditions, running LSPR so many years. We also do a lot of ice racing in the winter, so we're used to the slick stuff. Tires helped us a lot. I think we made the right choice, and I hope we're going to make the right choice for the second loop as well.
In two-wheel drive, Michael Hooper led the charge through the slick conditions, expertly managing to put the power down properly to get a 70-second gap over his nearest competition, Vivian Campbell.
First two were good, grip was pretty good, pretty predictable, especially the first one. I know it is TP Tower, it's something different now, but real predictable, lots of grip everywhere, nothing to worry about. Third one started getting really sketchy on the second half, not nearly as predictable, really hard to read it. And then the fourth one, same thing. First half was pretty good, pretty manageable, and then second half really got slippery. But great stages, fun, just a little bit slippery.
As if it wasn't hard enough to be running the slick stages again, nightfall and continued snow meant limited visibility, as the infamous Star Wars effect made it even harder to see the road in front of them. Ken Block quickly set about pulling away from the competition, gaining 13 seconds on Semenuk on stage 6. Unfortunately for Block, his luck was about to run out, as an incredibly slick straight leading into a corner sent Block and the hind eye into the trees, damaging the suspension, chassis, and most importantly, the roll cage of his car.
When I came over a crest to just 70 meters of mud, I got offline and I couldn't keep the car on the road. So we ended up in the forest, and basically a 0 to 0 moment. Rally over, sure I'll finish second in the championship, but that's not what the goal was.
Block's championship hopes were out of his hands, as Brandon Semenuk moved into the lead, and he could only hope that Semenuk had an issue himself to prevent him from earning enough points to take the win.
I mean, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for us, he went off on the third stage of that loop. I don't know the details, but obviously that puts us in a pretty good place for the championship. Still a long way to go, and we got to do our homework and be smart tomorrow. So, yeah, all in all, pretty good day for us. I was happy with the drive, yeah, for the first time of this rally. Just to be on, a close enough pace to keep Ken pushing was, a feat in itself. So, yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Rain, snow, wet conditions. We went the first stage just trying to be consistent, thinking, man, maybe they'll make some mistakes. And we got done the first stage and dropped 16 seconds to Ken and 11 to Brandon or whatnot. And I thought, well, it's going to be that kind of fight. I knew it was. Those guys are going all out, so we started going all out. And it just still, like all the rest of the year, just wasn't quite on pace. At night, didn't have the lights quite perfect. Excuses aside, second stage, Ken, he took 19 out of us, and I thought it was a pretty good stage. We only lost 10 from being better conditions than in the daytime. And unfortunately, we just haven't found the speed this year that we had last year. We haven't got a single win, and it doesn't look like this one's going to be it either.
Tom Williams was able to pull away from Dubasu on the second loop to secure third place by the end of the day, but also found himself in no man's land, over 4 minutes behind Pastrana, but 2 minutes ahead of Dubasu. But what happened to lead to that gap?
First loop was good. Second loop was, it's like Snowdrift 2.0, but without ice and without the massive amounts of snow. Just tried to get through that. There was same corner that unfortunately Patrick went off on, and I slowed right down second gear, still just spun around. And ultimately it's just down to the conditions.
Bugaj managed to hold on to 4th overall, while Seahorn unfortunately retired from 6th on stage 5 with a head gasket failure. Tim Witteridge overtook Mark Piatowski on stage 6, but fell back behind him on stage 8, leaving Piatowski in 6th overall and Witteridge in 7th. Sladek moved all the way to 8th overall, as Michael Hooper and Dave Wallingford rounded out the top 10. In the regional rally, Ivo Dragunov proved that he has the upper hand in slick conditions. After winning the Snowdrift Regional Rally at the beginning of the year, he now found himself in the lead of the LSPR in his limited four-wheel drive Subaru Impreza WRX wagon, already having opened up a minute gap between himself and Dylan Gondike, who held second overall regional and the NA four-wheel drive class lead. The final podium spot was held by Kevin Schmidt's RX-7, which also led the open two-wheel drive class. Regional open four-wheel drive lead was held by the Mitsubishi Eclipse of Robert Dupree, who sat in 16th overall, while just behind him in 17th was the limited two-wheel drive leader, Matt Hoffman, in his 2012 Chevy Sonic RS. As you know, the American Rally Association is home to some of the most unique rally cars in the world. Open class rules inspire creativity and new ideas for some of the craziest cars to ever hit the stage. A favourite of the ARA is the Chevy Sonic of Pat Morrow. While it holds the appearance of an R5 or even an AP4 car, Pat Sonic is a V8 powered all-wheel drive monster. Now sporting a Days of Thunder inspired livery, DirtFish caught up with Morrow to learn everything they could about one of the coolest cars in the country.
So originally we were rallycross cars. So originally this is one of the rallycross cars. We had two of them that we built, and then we took the first one, took it back down. So when rallycross kind of went away, then we decided to go back to stage rally. So ever since I've gotten into the stage rally, I've always kind of wanted something that had all the torque on demand kind of a thing. So at that time we looked at it and looked at the rules, and there's a little bit of an opening in there for the rules for V8s. So we said, why don't we just go ahead and take a V8 and put it in the car and make it happen that way. So we went ahead and took a V8, put it in the car. But we're doing something that's a little different. The whole idea is concept is to keep the car really affordable to run. But it just seems like we've been having a little bit of issues here at this event. So we just got to work through a little bit more bugs. Development of a car is a lot of work for sure. So we're getting there, but the car is just a riot to drive. It is literally just a blast. Like Wildcat over there, I know a lot of people were kind of complaining about it, but this car was absolutely a blast on Wildcat. So, we'll see how everything pans out for next year, but, year's over now. The car will go down, get re-cleaned out. We have the second one on the surface plate. So I'll get the second car done and then, jump to that car for next year. Yeah, so it's also a long travel suspension. So what we do, we have really nice aluminum uprights. But then, so when we start to design the car, we have the whole car in a model in the computer. So then we, put all the components in place, and then, that gives us all of our links and everything that we need for drive shafts and all of that kind of stuff. So we've been pretty fortunate on all of that. We weren't exactly starting with an open sheet of paper because we already had a lot of that stuff from the rallycross stuff. So far as the diffs and everything like that, so what we're using an SGS gearbox, which goes back, and then it has a disconnect right behind it. But it also has transfer gears and transfers it to a prop shaft that takes it to the front. And the front diff is mounted on the right side with an intermediate shaft that goes over to the left side of it. And then, so that we have equal length drive shafts for left and right, so then keeps your spares package down. But then it's the uprights we're using are from Baratech. They also make the outer joint, which is a really nice outer joint. So we're pretty happy with those. And then the inner joints we're using are from a company called K-Tech. They have a really nice GKN 300M, that's been really polished and everything and lightweighted, but it's a really nice components there. So, and then with the amount of articulation that we have on the inner joint, they also make a really nice rubber and an outer shell to hold on our rubber to, because that's the biggest problem that you have with fronts, right? How much articulation you have with the axles and that kind of thing. So all of that stuff seems to be working really well, and it seems to be pretty good. We just keep running across strange things that, and that's the sport of rally, It just seems like these cars are good in the shop, and then when they get to the rally, they say, no. So the power and the delivery of the power is a lot easier, and it's a lot easier on the components because the car, at our idle at about 12 to 1500 RPM, we have, a pretty high torque number. I'm not going to give any specific numbers, but our torque number at idle is pretty good. So the cars launch pretty well. And so we've played a little bit with moving the power, taking a little bit of the torque away from the low end and putting it up toward the top end. But again, everything is so new and it hasn't been done. We're still playing with gear ratios and all of that kind of stuff. So we're doing it slowly because it's coming out of my own pocket. The interesting thing is the rear wing is a 3D printed from IC 3D. Those guys are building bigger printers now, and they can almost probably build our fenders now and our quarters now if we want them to. But so far as that goes, we own all the molds, and doing the composites in these cars and being able to do it in-house, I think is one of the ways to keep it more affordable. We were doing another thing, another event that we had to go do, and it just so happened that it was on the same weekend as the NASCAR throwback liveries. So we kind of looked at it for a while, and we thought, what's a good throwback livery? So then, Days of Thunder popped into the head. That's probably one of the most used liveries in throwback scheme. Kind of love it. We'll probably rock it for a couple events next year, and then we've got a couple other ideas, kicking down the line there. So since it's coming out of my own pocket to do everything, might as well have some fun with it, right?
Crest 90 Junction.
As far as the competition Saturday morning, Travis Pastrana was able to step up and take control of the first few stages, pulling back about 17 seconds from his teammate, but once the second half of the loop came around, Semenuk pulled it all back. On stage 9, Alan DeBassi's rally came to an end after going wide and ending up off the side of the road, leaving Tom Williams even more comfortably in 3rd place, over the now 4th place Greg Bugaj. Incredibly impressive from a team who hadn't rallied since LSPR of last year. Though he didn't lose a position, Tom Williams did have a big time loss from a puncture on the first stage of the day, and then later in the loop believed that he had lost his exhaust, but found the problem to be a much simpler fix.
We got a puncture, managed to get it through, didn't lose too much time. Then the 3rd stage, it sounded like my exhaust fell off, but no, I just realised because Travis didn't tell me before I went into the stage that the back door was open on my car. Because I was explaining to my engineer, I was like, why in 1st, 2nd and 3rd does it sound so loud, but then 4th and 5th it goes away? So 4th and 5th gear, of course the ARA brings the hatchback down. I was like, holy crap.
As drivers made their way into service, crews reflected on their rally so far, and what the plan was for the rest of the rally, including the ever-important power stage.
Travis was, he was on it. He was going so well. I think he had some pretty good experience on those stages, and he just ruined us. And we were too cautious, so that definitely the gaps on those stages were too close for comfort. All in all, we've got still that 30 seconds or so in hand, and now we just need to maintain it for the next 15 miles or so.
Man, Brandon's just driving smooth and steady. He handed it to me on a silver platter, and first 2 stages felt okay, and then we had a little bit of a kind of electrical gremlins. I think went to take off, and throttle by wire or whatever you call it, it wasn't working. So we had to, after the start happened, we had to shut it down and restart it and circulate it, and then it happened again on the next stage. So we'll get that sorted, but at the end of the day, Brandon is focused on what he needs to be focused on, just driving smooth and consistent. I was hoping that maybe this would be our one race to get a win. And
Stage 9 was a little technical and tricky, pretty slippery because it was some snow coming down while we were out there, so that definitely made more mud. We love Stage 10, super fun stage, more of a stage with some connecting corners, twisty bits, not just so flat out. The Trouble in Wildcat, pretty fun, little rough there on Wildcat, some embedded rocks and stuff. Happy that the car survived all that, and we're ready to go out and finish up the day.
Starting off the final loop with the power stage, Semenuk took top points, with Pastrana following in 2nd and Williams taking 3rd. Tim Witteridge impressed as he got 4th place on the stage after not having been in the car since the beginning of the year, while Mark Piatowski got the final power stage point in 5th. First in class meant Witteridge took his 3 class points, and unsurprisingly, Michael Hooper took the 2-wheel drive power stage points. Witteridge also managed to pass Piatowski to take 5th, while Dylan Murcott snuck into the top 10, passing Tim O'Neill in the process. Santiago Iglesias also passed Roberto Iglesias, creating a 3-way tie for the L2 Cup, which would be won by Roberto only if the positions stayed the same through the final few stage miles. At the end of the rally though, it would be all eyes on Semenuk, as he held on to the lead to win not only LSPR, but the national title, the first Canadian to do so since Antoine Lestage in 2010. As Semenuk parked his WRX STI at Parc Fermé, droves of spectators swarmed the new champion, all wanting to get a moment with him before he had to run to the airport to fly out to Utah for Red Bull Rampage.
That's it. That's a wrap on the season. So happy to be wrapping up the season in this position. Even before heading into STPR, I knew it was a long shot, and then after the incident at STPR, I pretty much, it was a very, very small chance that we were going to be standing here, and I've never been at this event, and I pushed on, and we had to stay ahead of Travis. and put the pressure on Ken, and unfortunately there was enough pressure applied for him to make a mistake, and we were able to keep it together today and get the car to the end. Obviously really tricky stages today. They got really rough throughout that second loop, so happy to just a relief to get the car to the finish, because obviously anything can happen. It's rally, and but the car was flawless this weekend, no drama at all. It just kept running and kept performing. So really happy, and thanks to Keaton and the team and everyone involved, because honestly this is all their hard work. I feel like I played a really small part in this, and it was a huge team effort. So mega thank you to everyone involved.
Second place again this year, Travis Pastrana got third in the championship standings behind Block. Pastrana was disappointed to not get a win, but thrilled to see his teammate win the championship for Subaru.
All in all, weekend was a success. 17th U.S. Rally Championship for Subaru. Semenuk has been just amazing all year. He's done such a great job. And at the end of the day, Subaru really stepped up. Vermont Sports Car gave us a car that that we could be competitive with Ken. I think Ken was definitely the quickest driver all year round. He stepped into that Hyundai and he did phenomenal. He did a great job, and I'm getting older, Ken's getting older, but for a guy in his 50s, he gets faster and learns every single weekend. Him and Alex, they worked hard, they deserved a championship, and a part of me is disappointed that after everything that Ken Block has done for the sport, has done for Gymkhana, has done to get this big crowd that's here and everybody that's watched X Games, that's all Ken, and he's done so much because he's passionate and he loves everything and loves the sport. And for him to walk away from this year not having a championship is a huge blow. I really hope that he comes back and tries his hand again next year. I think the cars are all going to be a lot more similar next year.
And of course, third on the podium would be Tom Williams, successfully securing fourth in the championship overall, as well as running away with the RC2 championship.
I think if anyone said they had a clean weekend, they're lying. This was tricky, like full-on snow and ice to begin with, and we just, as I said before, I had hard compound tires. Idiot, my fault. Why would I do that when it's snowing? But of course, I went with my own decision and I got it wrong. But then in the afternoon, when it went dark, our notes, me and Ross were working really well together, and that's when we had our push. And we went from 5th to 3rd overall. And of course, trying to follow Travis and Brandon and Ken. But of course, sadly, Ken dropped out in the night stages, and that moved us up to 3rd overall. And we kept our first-in-class lead. And yeah, today was also not easy, very twisty and technical stages, and I really enjoyed today. It really reminded me of back home, these kind of like real technical stages, and everything's just working really well from the start of the season to the end of the season. Our progression's been massive, and I'm really looking forward to where next year takes us.
Fourth overall and the LN4 win went to Greg Bugaj and Elizabeth Jubanski. While a limited class car placing so well is always impressive, it's even better when the team has been at the car for a year prior to stage 1.
One of the first times in a few years that it's been a real LSPR. We had mud, snow, all the changing weather. We had an amazing time. We came here for a dogfight with Seahorn and Dave. Unfortunately, we didn't get that dogfight, but we just stuck to our plan and pushed on Friday. Today we cut back a little bit with the rough stages just to make it to the finish, and here we are.
The LN4 podium was filled out by Tim Witteridge in 2nd and Mark Piatowski in 3rd. Of course, despite finishing off the podium, 8th place overall, Chris Sladek and John Sharps were the happiest LM4 team at Parc Fermé, as despite all the odds, the HPD Hart Rally team won the LM4 championship with basically a stock Honda passport.
Speechless, honestly. The hard work finally paid off at the end of the season, and it couldn't be more exciting for us. And I think the fans loved it too. I think the race being close and down to the wire was certainly a little stressful at times, but we kept doing what we always do and ran consistently, and kept our pace up, and it paid off.
After a difficult season adapting to a newly built car, Michael Hooper finally had an event go his way, and he won the 2-wheel drive class with ease in the season finale.
I flip-flop between trying to come beat Seamus, try my best, and taking it easy next year. So the more days between the last rally, the more I want to get back out here and try to fight. So we'll just see how it looks towards the end of winter.
The regional rally was won by Ivo Dragunov, who successfully bookended the national events by winning the regional rally for each one, showing incredible pace in the top 10 for all entries combined both times.
wow, what a weekend this was. It was full of emotions, you know. We try to stay composed and keep pushing, pressing on regardless. The news with Al's passing definitely put a toll on things, and we're shaken up by that, so we had to leave that to the side and focus on the race, and we did that today so we can challenge and win the overall and win the four-wheel drive class, so we're super stoked.
Dylan Gondike had been running second, but broken suspension right at the end of stage 14 meant for a long transit with a collapsed rear driver side shock, wearing through spares with ease. In an attempt to save the car, Gondike took a shortcut on transit, but was hit with a 10-minute penalty for deviating from the path, dropping him from 2nd to 9th. Instead, taking his place was the RX-7 of Kevin Schmidt, who also won the open two-wheel drive class.
That was good.
That was fun.
Oh, I love that stage. Benji! The sloppy conditions are my favorite. I'm always praying for rain and snow. You know, we can't keep up on the faster ones, so we get it tight and technical and wet, and that's where this car shines. So this is the right weapon today. Knife to a gunfight, but if you stab in the heart, you know, works out pretty good.
Third place overall was the Evo 10 of Sumit Punjabi, and fourth was the NA four-wheel drive class winner Nick Morris. Jordan Harborough was the winner of the open four-wheel drive class in 10th place, and Matt Hoffman Chevy Sonic held on for the limited two-wheel drive win in 18th overall. Lastly, as you may know, the ARA has 4 national championships: overall, LN4, two-wheel drive, and RC2. Limited two-wheel drive entrants are included in the two-wheel drive championship, and naturally aspirated four-wheel drive cars battle against limited four-wheel drive cars in a combined class. While these classes don't have podium celebrations, as they historically have had low entries, the ARA keeps track of points that count towards cups for each class. Mark Piatowski was able to win the naturally aspirated four-wheel drive cup by finishing at LSPR, but the L2 Cup was much more complicated. As mentioned earlier, the L2 Cup was extremely close coming to LSPR, and after Santiago Iglesias passed Roberto Iglesias, Roberto was set to win on a tiebreaker, so long as positions stayed the same for the final few stage miles. Unfortunately for Roberto though, on a rally-ending super special, the differential in the Acura Integra of Alex Ramos blew, meaning Ramos couldn't finish the rally, and Paul Dickinson ended up with 1 point extra over Roberto to take the cup. While the L2 Cup has not been very competitive in the past, this year has seen a large influx of competitors. So throughout the weekend, DirtFish talked with some of the key players to find out what it is about the limited two-wheel drive cup that people get excited about.
The car's been really good to me, and it's in the limited two set, and it's like stock plus, and it seems like once people kind of figured it out, we just have this great, pretty well balanced championship with a bunch of different cars that are just depending on how the stage goes and how we drive, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, any of us can put in some pretty comparable times.
I think that it's an incredible class. Limited 2 is kind of the entry level class, but they're not entry level cars by any means. I mean, this thing feels pretty quick. But I started out at Team O'Neill, and Tim convinced me to go with front-wheel drive, underpowered cars, and really do that until you can't drive the car any faster before you make any other, adjustments to all-wheel drive or anything like that. So I've really been focused on I want to, hone the skills, master the class. I think it's a great place for anyone to start. And even, I fell in love with it. So I'd be happy staying here for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, it's been great racing with the same guys every race, and we're friends. I talked to Roberto during the week, and Tim and another couple other L2 guys. We're pretty close. We'll text each other pretty normally. So it's just a friendly competition. We're all just super competitive.
Let's take a look at our overall national classification for LSPR. Brandon Semenuk takes the win with Travis Pastrana in second. Tom Williams rounds out the podium in third, with Greg Bugaj in fourth. Tim Witteridge takes fifth, with Mark Piatowski in sixth, Michael Hooper in seventh, Chris Sladek in eighth in the Honda Passport, ninth is Dave Wallingford, and 10th is Dylan Murcott. For the last time this year, let's see what that means for our national championship standings. Finally, let's take a look at our regional championship standings. The 2022 American Rally Association presented by DirtFish Championship has been one of the greatest in US rally history. Unforgettable moments, intense battles, and the jumping off point for some very promising competitors will surely be remembered as highlights of the year. Thank you very much to every single fan, driver, co-driver, volunteer, crew member, organiser who made this year happen. We look forward to an even better year in 2023 as we continue taking you along for this ride. And for the final time this year, my name is Jack Harrison, and thank you very much for watching, everybody. It's been a massive pleasure to be a part of this season. For more rallying content, please be sure to like and subscribe to the DirtFish YouTube channel, and we'll be sure to catch you next season. Rally on, everyone.